Welcome to Country Outdoors, Bobby Mead.
Is he in here? Rob Keck and Paul Brown and some of the other guys came to me and they said, we need to have a fundraiser. I started Swamp Fox chapter. It was the very first fundraising chapter in the nation. We rode that turkey around everywhere. I mean, all of Charleston, all of Moncks Corner, showing everybody that turkey. And my daddy started planting Tuffas back in 48 and 49. I think we plant 104 acres right now. They didn't put the clamp on right, and when they took my gallbladder out, and I almost died. And while I was on that table, I saw my dad, and I saw one of my best friends who had just passed away 50 years ago. And they kept telling me, I'm sorry, it's just not your time yet. I got thinking, so well, if he says I'm sorry, it's not your time yet, it must be pretty good.
Yeah. Everybody, welcome back to Country Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Mary O'Neill Phillips, and on this week's episode, I have a very special old friend of mine, somebody who loves turkey hunting more than anybody else I know. He is a world-class storyteller and just like an awesome person, family man, loves the Lord, conservationist, and I've been really wanting to do this for a long time because he's just got such a cool story. Bobby Mead, welcome to Country Outdoors.
Glad to be here. Glad y'all are here.
G'day mates, it's your host Mary O'Neill Phillips and you are listening to Country Outdoors Podcast.
We're in the Roost, and the Roost is where, you can tell us about the Roost.
This is just where everybody comes after the hunt or before the hunt. They either have an excuse not to hunt because it's too hot, or they hunt and tell their lies about what they missed or what they should have killed. But no, this is where everybody comes together and we eat and have supper and, talk about it, rehash the hunts. And it's a nice place to just kind of hang out.
It's awesome. Where we are, this is Bobby's home, Wappaoolah Plantation. It's how many thousand acres?
About 6,000 acres.
In Moncks Corner, so right outside of Charleston. And I just can't even believe from the first time I came here to now, the amount of development that is surrounding this area now. And then you go through all of this development and Wappaoolah is still here standing. And it's kind of like this gem, this diamond in the rough at this point. There's just so much built up around it. And I really want to dig into your story growing up and talk about that, all the changes that you've seen, but really go back to the beginning with your family, because I know you've been here for a long time. And
yeah, I was hatched right here.
Yeah.
A little fellow when ever since I was scrambling around and walking around and was able to walk, I was right here. We were in the timber business, and fifth generation of timber. And back in the old days, my daddy and my granddad would buy land with timber on it. They'd cut the poles off of it, and then they would sell the land back. They buy it for $3 an acre, cut $4 or $5 an acre poles, and they sell it back $4 or $5 an acre. And after so many years, they turn around and they buy that same tract back again, and they cut some more. Anyway, we sold this place and bought it back, I think, 3 times, and finally kept it in 1948. I wasn't born yet. So anyway, they kept it because they wanted to entertain the people who bought the poles out of Chicago for duck hunting. Mm-hmm. And we're on a Cooper River, and we have real good duck hunting here. And so they pretty well had the old plantation house over there at the time, and they invite them down here to go duck hunting. And so I was raised here. As I got older, I became one of the guides that took people out hunting, duck hunting, and of course back then it was a lot colder than it is now. And when I got a little bit older, I kind of went around with my dad and kind of watched him. He always liked to call turkeys naturally with his voice, and he always, of course, kind of watched him. He always took me with him a lot. And finally, I got to where I could try to do it a little bit. Kept calling my voice, and made turkey hunting really fun. And of course, when I was 6 years old, my mom told him, you got to take Bobby with you to the sawmill because it's Easter week. I can't take him. I got stuff I got to do. And he said, I'll take him with me. So he took him with me, and wasn't 6 years old. And I already been on a dove stand by myself with a 410. And, and he'd be, of course, the next stand down, whatever. And he had to meet a guy from New York or somewhere. They were cutting cross ties, and he told me, I'm going to give you this 410. Don't you load it. If you go down to the first intersection, and I'm going to give you this box call. And stop, bought the box call. on the way over there, and it's a old Lynch box call. I still got it, and I still use it. Anyway, I started walking, and I went to the first intersection, and it was too loud. I couldn't hear because the sawmill was sawing, and so I went to the second intersection, about 2.5 miles away. And when I got there, I sat down. It was pretty cool. It was in March. When the season used to come in here on March 15th, which I wish it still did. But
Yeah.
anyway, when I sat down, my box called cluck, when I sat down. And when it did, the bird gobbled right there behind me. And I said, around the curve. And I said, oh my goodness, I think that's a turkey. And I reached down and got my box call out and reached my gun. I put my shell in there, slammed it, and I just clucked on it a couple of times, and he came running around the corner. Scared me to death, I think it looked like a Mack truck coming around there. And I pulled the hammer back and shot him and killed him. And then, I noticed there's a lot of dogs right. Well, we had a lot of wild dogs in it, and I didn't want him to get to my bird. That's the first bird I ever killed. And I said, what am I going to do? I can't leave the bird here. I can't tote him. The bird weighs almost as much as I do. And I said, so I had lace-up boots. I took the laces off, and I tied them together. And I saw a little dogwood tree leaning over. So I climbed up in the dogwood tree and tied the laces around the neck of the bird. And I kind of eased up there and held my hand down. And when I fell down the tree, I came out the tree, the bird went up, and I tied him off. And I went to take off running. It didn't have any laces on. So I had to take my boots off and took off. So, make a long story short, went back, got my dad, and we rode that turkey around everywhere. I mean, all over Charleston, all over Moncks Corner, showing everybody that turkey. But we had a good time. It was a fun time, and we always turkey hunted together. And we just had back then when any problems finding turkeys, but not everybody had turkeys back then. I mean, just a few plantations had birds. Since then, of course, the birds took off, and restocking programs and the wildlife department's done, and over the years and everything, it's got them spread all over the place now. So it makes it fun to know that everybody's enjoying the sport I love so much, and I like to go all over different states and hunt different kind of birds, and I've had my Savannah slams and about everything you can get on them, and I just like doing it. It's just fun.
I love it. I want to go back to that story because I remember when you told it to me the first time there, that New York gentleman, hadn't you walked in?
They're like Barney Fife. He had a little bow tie on, and he said, son, we can't talk right now. I got to get on the airplane, and I got to get these cross ties done. And my daddy says, you don't understand. He just killed a turkey. And the man looked at daddy and says, so what? You don't understand. Come on, hop in the back of the car. We got to look at his turkey. He says, okay, yeah. Anyway, he rode around with us all that day. I think we kind of forgot he was in the back seat of the car. And then when we finally got back to the mill later on that afternoon, and that man says, I'm not going back to New York. I'm going to get a job around here. You people just take things as they come. He said, y'all don't have to get it done that day. He says, I like that. And he says, I'm going to find a job around here. So daddy helped him find a job at a mill close by. And he stayed here and he worked here. But he stayed at our house for about 3 weeks. And mom says, when is this guy ever going to leave?
That's awesome.
To 100, I don't think I lose my enthusiasm.
The more things change, the more they stay the same around here. After 40 years of dirt, sticks and leaves, I think it's safe to say the Mossy Oak family and brand are people that you can trust. So head to mossyoak.com and get your gear today.
Country Outdoors is proud to partner with Yuengling, the oldest brewery in America since 1829 and the official light lager of the outdoors. Will you tell me as well the story about your dad and your grandfather and the war story of him going off to war and the land being sold, the original land?
Yeah, well, that was on Red Bank, where the Naval Weapons Station is now. 10,000 acre tract, and that's where he was raised. And it was right next to Coat Bar and Marrington. And he loved that place. And then when he went to war, he was flying B-54 bombers. And granddaddy and grandmom was sitting on the front porch It had back then with all this was clay roads, and you know when it rained it was slippery and wet. Well, they were sitting on the front porch late one afternoon. They saw these two guys walking in with black suits on, white shirts on, muddy all from head to toe. And grandmama said, my granddaddy's name was Orion. I said, Orion? And her name was Drew. I said, what, Drew? There's two guys walking up that road right there. You reckon they lost? He said, he knew exactly what it was. He saw them. He said, no. He said, you got enough chicken back there to feed these guys? He said, yeah, we got plenty of fried chickens. Okay. They came up there on the porch, and he never said a word to them as far as who you are or whatever. He knew they were. They were from the government, and they were coming in as a matter of time. They were right on Deepwater Access, right in North Charleston. And they had to have that property for weapon station. And we full of poles. That's one place they didn't want to cut the poles on. It's just so pretty. And make long story short, they wanted to get Daddy back out of the war to come run. They were running like 15, 16 ground crews to cut the poles. And they would cut the poles and they'd hand peel them with a hoe. You know, that's how they got the bark off. Then they would take them and air dry them, sun dry them for about 3 or 4 days out there in the yard. It was called a lumber yard. And then they would tie them together and skiff them and float them down the Cooper River. And they would float them down the Cooper River all the way down to a mill called Prettyman and Son. And later on, coppers bought them out. And they would sit there and they would pole tugboats to pull them around, and they bring them and they'd pull them out and they'd put them in kilns. And they would dry them. And from there, they would put them on boxcars and ship them to Chicago and in New York, mostly Chicago, the poles. And they would use the telegraph poles, telephone poles, the telephones of getting them out and everything. But Daddy told him one thing: he'd come back from the war as long as they didn't knock his house down when he was born in. And he was there about 4 months, and then they knocked his house down. So he told him that was it for him. He's going back to fly B-52 bombers, B-54 bombers. Anyway, he got back to the base, and the very first day he got landed and got out, he developed pneumonia, and they were grounded him. They wouldn't let him go out. They had made 32 missions, and this will be his 33rd mission, and they wouldn't let him fly. So they went out that day, and that plane never came back.
Wow.
So it's almost like the good Lord was looking after it, you know. But they then shipped him over to Colorado Springs, where they wanted him to teach the flying. So he started teaching the flying, the different, because these airplanes were coming out then. And he had his own private airplanes too that he flew. And of course, Mama didn't like that. He made him sell them after the war. But anyway, that's mostly what he did. And we had he settled out here got back into forestry. And of course, when I was going through high school and college, I did a lot of turkey calling, did a lot of contests, and we're going around there. And then my daddy had some heart troubles, and I was going to go to Clemson to get my forestry degree, and I had a 4-year degree over in Charleston Southern. So back then it was called Baptist College, and then so I had to stay here and run the forestry part end of it. So which I don't regret doing now. Somebody told me I was born retired, and I think I was, because I like what I do. I'm outdoors all the time, and
yeah, you're still working this property more than anybody else.
Yes, you can't stop working it because trees don't quit growing, and you got to constantly cut fire lines, fire breaks. You got to plant for the wildlife. You got to plant
the burning,
control burnings. Yep, and everything. All that's got to be done yearly.
If you hunt, you know how easy it is to lose track of where you are, especially around property lines. That's why here at Country Outdoors, we only use OnX Hunt, the #1 hunting app. It shows public and private boundary lines, so you always know where you stand. We use it for scouting, marking spots, and even navigating. It just takes the guesswork out of everything. If you want to hunt smarter this season, go check out OnX Hunt at onxmaps.com. and know where you stand. Let's talk about the Tuffas stuff, because you kind of like are known for introducing Tuffas and how much the wild turkey loves that, especially with your work with the NWTF and all of that.
Well, let me tell you about the Tuffas. My daddy started planting Tuffas back in 48 and 49, and they used to fatten the hogs up with them. And they were told, so a fellow in Spain told them that if you plant Tuffas and put the hogs in them, it'd fatten them up real good, and it's quicker sale to the market. So they went and bought a bunch of Tuffas and planted a field full of Tuffas, and they didn't know what a Tufas was. Nobody knew what Tufas was. So they put the hogs in there, but it come to find out when they butchered the hogs, they always would melt the fat and put it in cans, and it would harden back up. And that's what they used the lard to cook with. See?
Mhm.
Well, when they ate the Tuffas, the lard would never harden back up. And so it really must be pretty healthy for you, I reckon.
Yeah.
So when they saw that, they had to go back to corn because they didn't have anything to cook with over the years. Well, meanwhile, the turkeys started coming into fields and just all the time just digging those Tuffas. And that's when they learned how the turkeys like those Tuffas. And so then Daddy started going out, and back then it was hard to find Tuffas, and he had to really scrape, and he started planting Tuffas in back then. That was probably started in 48, but about 50, 52, he started planting Tuffas. And then, of course, when I got, out of high school in 73, 74, I started planting a lot of Tuffas patches. And I think we plant 104 acres right now.
Wow.
Over the whole state, and on different tracts we have.
Mm.
We try to keep our tracts of land separated because of hurricane problems. And when Hugo hit in 1989, it pretty well wiped out every one of our tracts but a couple of them. So we never thought that the hurricane would be that devastating, but we managed to hold on, and we came back from it. But of course, now we're having problems with the forestry, with the mills. A lot of the mills are shutting down. All this timber down here, I can't understand why, but all this timber down here that we have, the mills are just shutting down right and left, and
why do you
leaving
think
all
that's
the
happening?
landowners.
Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I think overseas, they're producing a product now for about half of what we can do. The labor's cheaper. They can grow eucalyptus over there in 6 months. 6 years, where it takes 15 years to grow a pine. So they can rotate their a lot faster and keep the mills going. And they've learned how to grow fluff paper, which we started fluff paper here, and baby diapers, and toilet paper, things like that, paper towels. But next thing you know, they learn how to do fluff paper, and their labor say $1 an hour. Ours $25 an hour. So if you put a candy bar on the table, you got $1 candy bar, you got $5 candy bar. People gonna buy $1 candy bar, and so that's what they're doing. They're buying the products from overseas now in a lot cheaper prices. The stores are, and reselling it for a profit that would normally we would sell to the stores for. So seeing the writing on the wall, they figured that they better go ahead and let's just shut these mills down. And that's what they're doing. It's outside markets is just killing us.
So for like the general consumer, because I feel like most people, when they hear about American farmers and landowners, family-owned businesses struggling because of international pressure, they don't like it. But like, what can a general consumer do then to support U.S. industry in wood, as opposed to, like, is there a way that they can even tell?
Well, if something doesn't happen soon, first of all, the farming industry is going downhill. The price of fertilizer this year doubled because of the war. They keep dropping those bombs over there. The fuel's going up. Of course, the fuel goes up. The price of fertilizer goes up. The price of grain has not moved. It's still there where it was 10 years ago. So just like last year, I made 200 bushels an acre on non-irrigated land, and I still didn't even break even. So what are you going to do? Where do you go? I mean, the writing was on the wall for me. I just went back to food plots and planting for wildlife. My major income was forestry. So the farmers this year, I don't know how they're going to make it. I really don't. Unless the government doesn't step in and have some kind of incentive for them to make it work. They mortgage the farms and mortgage everything they have to try to keep going. We lost a lot of them last year, but this year this could be devastating.
Especially when people can't even put diesel in their tractor.
Plus drought. You get the droughts we have. So, we just, it's just a bad situation. It really is. We're the worst I've ever seen it as far as not only timber, but now you can go to some areas. I just got back from Georgia on a turkey hunt, and I purposely stopped at these little mom and pop places to eat where the landowners were and the loggers were and talked to them. And sure, they got mills all over Georgia, but they're not getting any money for their wood. The landowners are still getting $2 a ton for the pulp wood, where it used to be $19 a ton, $16 a ton. And you're only getting $20 a ton for the logs, which used to be $40 a ton. So even though there's a lot of mills, they're not getting any money for it. So you just might as well say they don't have any mills either. So it's a global thing. It's a global thing right now. It's just something that needs to be turned around. And all the you say all the housing going up, but it's not everywhere. It's just mostly on the coast. Inland United States, there's not much building at all going on. So you can't base everything on what's going on in South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, places like that. But it's just, I'm hoping the Forestry Association will turn things around. I hope in order to get mills to come in here, to give them incentives to come in here, they're going to have to do something pretty big to get them in here. It's going to take them 3 years to even build a mill. And then where are you going to get loggers? The loggers are gone. So a young kid coming out of college can't invest $2 or $3 million in a logging crew. He doesn't have the assets to back that. So then he's sitting there with a mill with no product coming in. So without product, you have mills not going to run. And so they see all this writing on the wall, and nowadays, don't get me wrong, but nowadays a lot of these people that they don't want to work. I mean, a lot of them they just want to stay on the computer. They won't stay on their phone. They want to stay on the computer. They want to do office jobs. They don't want to get out and work in 100-degree weather with a chainsaw and they just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess the big message in that is, like, obviously when people have the ability to be able to vote locally, vote for people that stand for American industry. And then second, right now, because I agree with what you said, it's global. Like, even my family in Australia, the price of fuel and like it is everywhere, and it's affecting the entire world because the world is run on agriculture, and you can't go to the supermarket and buy a bunch of bananas for under like $3.50. And it's like, if that's for what is the average person, or not even the average person, how are single parent families or families with one parent that works and the other one at home managing to survive if we're having this conversation and we're struggling?
Right.
That's where it's, So I do think it's everybody is feeling it. So supporting the mom and pop stores for sure as much as you can. If you have the opportunity to go to a mom and pop, or if you're going to Walmart, go to the mom and pop.
Right.
Yeah.
Try to keep them alive. Just like that's what COVID did. COVID shut down a lot of them mom and pop stores because the stay home thing. And that's something we should have never done. We should just put a mask on and go on about our business. But we shut down, just about killed all of our family jobs, or family workers, or stores, or whatever you want to call it. But it's just COVID really opened up a big can of worms to everybody and opened their eyes up to say, hey, we're not doing this again. I mean, if this comes again, we got to keep working. We've got to keep going. We can't just climb in the shell and close the shell up. We just can't do it. And ever since COVID hit, we've never come back out of it. And especially the family type businesses. Family businesses that just never did come back.
Yeah.
So, and again, I don't know what the farmers are going to do. They're scratching their head right now. They want to give the land to their children. They want to leave a legacy for the children. Our property here years ago, we put conservation easements on it because we saw the writing on the wall. We saw the buildings coming. We saw the housings coming. So we knew that if we don't put the conservation easements on the property, that this property being right on the Cooper River, Other property we have across the river is Mepkin, and this for conservation is on it. So did the monastery, and so did Salt Point, and several plantations. We got, got all the conservation own their properties. So we got a belt along the river system now that can't be built on.
That's awesome.
So it's I think it's probably about a 50,000-60,000 acre hub there that is protected, and it's in perpetuity. So nobody could really ever come in and nobody's tried to come in and change it, and I don't think anybody would. I don't think they could. The public would be on top of that, but just to go out my gate here, so you get out to the highway, 15 miles out, you got shopping centers, malls, everywhere I used to hunt when I was a kid, and it's out there anymore. It's all concrete and all houses and all buildings.
That must be wild.
Yep. But I reckon you can't stop prosperity. It's coming.
Well, yeah, and people want to live by the coast or live closer. It's like after COVID, there were so many people that wanted to get out of the big cities that did major shutdowns. In particular, we saw influxes in Nashville, and I'm sure Charleston I think Charleston, Nashville, and Savannah and Austin were the biggest cities to have people move to. And they were cities that were really thriving at the time. And then they had all this industry, or not even industry, they had all these residents move all of a sudden. And with that, obviously, with such quick growth, you've got so many issues that come with that as well. Which is, I get it. I wouldn't want to necessarily be up in the middle of a city that's shut down and you can't go anywhere or do anything either. Everybody wants fresh air and wants their families to be healthy and safe. But no, I think that's all really important stuff to talk about.
Oi! Stop. So I've actually been looking at buying land myself, and it's made me realize how important it is to have the right lender, because not all of them truly understand rural living. And that's why I love what Rural First are doing. They're a customer-owned cooperative, so they're built to serve people like us and not just push loans. They specialize in land and rural financing, and they even invest back into rural communities, which I personally love. So if you're curious, like I am, go and check them out at ruralfirst.com. Loans subject to credit approval and eligibility. Additional terms and conditions may apply. Rural First is a registered trademark of Farm Credit Mid-America, NMLS 407249. Rural First products are available to consumers within the territories of participating farm credit system associations.
With your property here, because I think something that you guys should know as well is Bobby's always been very generous with allowing people on his property a particular youth. And so he does every year a youth hunt for jakes out here, and which I think is wonderful. So he's also did you start the Swamp Fox chapter, or you were on the board of that? Or
I started the Swamp Fox chapter. It was the very first fundraising chapter in the nation. It was right here in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. When it came to me, Rob Keck and Carl Brown and some of the other guys came to me and they said, we need to have a fundraiser. And I said, will you do it for us? And I said, yeah, I'll do one for you down there. I said, I don't know how it's going to turn out or whatever, but until the town of Moncks Corner, but I'll rent. Back then we had a place called the Berkeley Restaurant and Motel. And you had one little room upstairs that hold about 250 people. So I said, yeah, but I'll do one. So I said, so back then it just came out with bag phones, okay, for the truck. And my daddy bought me this bag phone to keep the loggers going,
yeah,
make sure, whatever. But anyway, I think at the end of that second month, that phone bill went up to about $2,000.
Oh, back in the day when phones first came out, they were insane, the bills.
They were crazy. But anyway, I was making all those calls trying to get donations for that banquet. And then I thought they were going to give me a package. They said, we don't have a package. You just got to go out and find something. And I said, oh, Lord. Anyway, maybe long story short, we had the first banquet. It was great. I still got the tickets and all. I framed them and put them on my wall down in my house. And ever since then, it took off. And Edgefield had one right behind ours. And then and it just kind of blossomed out.
And it's still one of the highest producing banquets in the nation.
Yep, it's always been a real top-notch banquet. We usually either the first or second fundraiser in the nation for that banquet we have, and now we cut it off about 700 to 800 people, and we sell out every year.
Do you know how much you raised this last year?
I think around 240,000.
Yeah.
And that's probably end up netting around 150,000.
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know, that those National Wild Turkey Federation banquets, that money that's raised there goes towards all of the programs with the NWTF for the year. So conservation programs, releasing of hatches, Jake's programs, which is the young kids, like getting kids into the outdoors, all of that stuff throughout the year. So it's really important money that is raised for those. And then also for those people who don't know who Swamp Fox was, because it's just such an iconic part of the Lowcountry story, can you tell them?
Yeah, well, Swamp Fox, he was the one that led our militia, against they used to hide in the swamps and used to lead the British down into the swamps and get them lost. And he was noted for Francis Marion. Francis Marion was his name. He was noted for that's why they call him the Fox, because they couldn't ever catch it. And he would lead them down in these swamps, like Santee swamps or whatever, and mosquitoes and the malaria and all that would get them, and they never would come out. And not only that, he taught them how to, instead of sitting out in the open field and shooting like they always did, they shot from behind trees and stuff like that. So he was the man who really, in the Revolutionary War, was the reason why we won the Revolutionary War. And he so everything out here was called the Swamp Fox. And so we named our banquet the Swamp Fox chapter, and in honor of him. But and I guarantee he shot a bunch of turkeys in his lifetime.
Oh, I'm sure.
So they probably lived on mostly hogs of turkeys down there. But
yeah, that's probably true.
Since 1973, the National Wild Turkey Federation has been working tirelessly to conserve the wild turkey and to preserve our hunting heritage. Visit NWTF.org and join for just $35 to leave a lasting legacy that will help conserve wildlife and unite a nation through life-changing power of the outdoors.
Let's talk about being a grandfather now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm friends with his daughter, Amber, and she's awesome. She's hunted her whole life as well and lives just over here. And her son is a couple months younger than Molly as well. But how has your life changed since becoming a grandparent?
Oh, it's great. It's great. And I come home, he'll call me, granddad, and he gets him on my tractor with me every day and just rides around and drives everything on that tractor, and learns how to blow the horn now. He likes that. He gets in there, blows that horn. He got a hydrotrack stand fishing, and he just plays with that thing. And every time I go by the house, he looks out and says, "Granddad, that trap." So, but he's something else now. He's ready to go. It won't be long for and when we have our turkey hunts out here, we take our final pictures. We have a camping trip and we'll take final pictures, and he was out there with pulling on all the turkey tails and everything, so he gets a kick out of that too.
How old do you think he'll be when he goes on his first hunt?
Is what now?
How old do you think he'll be when he goes on his first hunt?
I'm gonna take him. I think about something. I shot my first turkey at 6, and he's already a pretty big boy. He's big as he's supposed to be at that age. So I think I'll probably try to get him out there with a 410 around 6 or 7.
Yeah. We were with Molly, like, whenever she's ready, like, we're definitely not going to push it too soon. But she's just so interested already now that's like, maybe it's going to be like 4. Maybe it'll be 5. I don't know. Like, I thought 6 or 7 too, but now she's like, just wants to be there and get it.
You just got to wait till they want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like a lab. You get a lab, either they got it or they don't have it. And you just got to wait till they get it. And when they get what they want to hunt and not make them hunt, then it's time to take them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine had a son didn't want to hunt ever until he got about 14 or 15. All of a sudden one day he just wants to start hunting, and he loves it, and he didn't care about it until then.
How important do you think the outdoors is for kids today?
Well, that's why I have these jakes and hunt lifetimes out here. I have about 12 jakes out here a year, and I scout for them. I put cameras up. I make sure we get the birds coming to good food plots, and I want to make sure that they see birds. First thing, I want to try to make sure they hear birds, and they get a kick out of it. And we've been real lucky for the last 16 years. Just about every one of them at least have a shot on a long beard. And they usually end up killing them too. They pretty good shots. We bring them out here the night before and we put them in a blind and let them shoot targets. Get used to the gun, so they won't be scared of it. And once they see they can do it, it gives them the confidence for the next day. So when the birds do come in there, they can do it. Now every now and then you get a child that comes in, the parents just kind of make them want to hunt. And those are the kids, they don't care whether they shoot or not.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that usually do the missing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they shoot and miss, they say, well, I want to go fishing. Let's go back and go fishing.
Yeah.
And we got a dock area, we go fishing.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's just, as long as we can keep the children involved and get everybody, get children introduced to the wildlife, the outdoors, the camping, not just the hunting, but the camping, being outdoors, fishing, the outdoors. We'll lose our sports, our outdoor sports, if we don't keep the children involved.
A lot of us grew up with Field and Stream, dreaming about our next cast, our next hunt, and our next outdoor escape. So join the 1871 Club today and head to fieldandstream.com/1871 Club.
I know God has played a big part in your life as well. And I'd love for you to just speak to maybe some of the most impactful ways in which he's worked in your life.
Well, he's looked down on me a lot. I mean, he really has. I've been blessed since I was born, to tell you the truth. I've been out here and I've loved being out here, working out here, and give me a great family, great grandchild, and I went through something. I had a little gallbladder change about a year and a half ago, and on Christmas, and they didn't put the clamp on right, and when they took my gallbladder out, and I almost died. Had 14 units of blood put back in me, and they had to stabilize me before they got me up there. And while I was on that table, I saw my dad, and I saw one of my best friends who had just passed away a few years ago. And they kept telling me, I'm sorry, it's just not your time yet. And I couldn't, of course, I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it's just not your time yet. And then when I came out of it, and I'm in the recovery room, and I realized that, that was them telling me it wasn't my time to go. And I got thinking, so, well, if he says, I'm sorry, it's not your time yet, it must be pretty good up there.
Yeah.
I said, they kind of saying, well, I'm sorry, I can't take you with me, So, but anyway, the good Lord's been good to me, and, this everything that I've done here is because of him, because his leadership, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have any of this. I mean, we're stewards of the land. We just look after it, even though we own the land, but we really don't own it. He owns it, and we just kind of keep it up until the next person comes along and they run it. So, he created all this, so we just have to use it, enjoy it. So
I love that. My last question for you, Bobby, is what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, I just want to be remembered for who I am and how I feel in life. As I always try to reach out, help other people. I see a lot of people that get down, and I try to boost them up, try to keep them happy, try to get their mind off of whatever's making them feel bad. But I always like turkey forestry, and turkey management is what I was pushing for all my life. And then and I just showed a lot of people how to plant, how to plant. It's a trick to it. And a lot of people learned costs them a lot to learn, and I've already spent that money to learn. So they come to me and ask me questions about what they should and shouldn't do about planting. But I just like to get out and just be myself, and I enjoy the outdoors and conservation easements on the property and all that, or just protection of the property, and being able to see the children grow up and have a good time too, and get to do what I got to do. It's just been great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your stories. There's so many more that we haven't even touched on, but no, thank you so much. You've got a fascinating story and we love you to bits. So thank you.
Thank you.